It's time for this week's Parting Shots.
Like most people, I was surprised to read this week that the NCAA announced a plan for college athletes to make money from endorsements, which seemed like huge news, except once you read beyond the headline, you'll realize there are more questions than answers. The organization used words like explore and we'll see, and suggested that group licensing, which is what would allow companies like EA Sports to make a college video game, is unworkable. They're even asking schools to consider excluding certain industries altogether, including shoe and apparel companies. Basically, it's kind of like the NCAA rolled out a big birthday cake and everyone oohed and awed, but when you actually bite into it, you'll see it's made out of cardboard. And if you ask them, why would you do this? They'll say you should be grateful you're getting anything at all. That might sound like hyperbole, but it's exactly what's happening. And it's why we keep falling for the okie doke. We characterize these stories using words like allow and let instead of the right one, which is deny. Because the truth is, the NCAA isn't letting anyone do anything. They're continuing to deny athletes access to opportunities that should have been theirs all along.
Baseball returns to South Korea this week. A fact that would be inspiring if it also wasn't so humiliating. Both America and South Korea had their very first COVID-19 cases on the exact same day, January 20th. And while one nation flattened its curve, we flailed at ours like it was thrown by Sandy Koufax. In March, South Korea had phone booths that test for the virus in 7 minutes. We discussed drinking bleach last week. So now MLB's latest hope is to start the season in June or July, and they will take copious notes on the Korean baseball organization in the meantime. Its quarantine policy, its twice daily temperature checks, its ban on spitting. But every Korean bat flip will be our reminder why they're already playing sports instead of endlessly pondering it. Their healthcare system. It tested and traced and contained the virus, earning the confidence of its citizens. That is the one and only way our national pastime will be ours again.
Pure sports debates are hard to find right now, which is why last week's NFL draft felt like a treasure trove for those of us longing to argue sports until we sweat a little bit. In the draft's aftermath, there was one story that still got my forehead glistening immediately. New Cowboys receiver CeeDee Lamb will reportedly wear number 88, the number famously worn by Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, and Des Bryant. And it got me thinking about a column I read last year in Monday Morning Quarterback pointing out the irregularities of NFL franchises retiring numbers. The Bears have the most at 14. The Raiders don't even retire numbers, and several teams that do have noticeable voids. Back to the Cowboys, though. They don't officially retire numbers, but they have 3 of them taken out of circulation. Yeah, that's just a retirement without the ceremony. They're Roger Staubach's, Troy Aikman's, and Emmitt Smith's. The fact that Irvin's wasn't also protected, they were the triplets! Is reason enough to end this lark. Besides, which one feels more like sports? Protecting a numeral, or spending years debating whether Lamb will ever live up to that 88 on his back? And how about this one? If Tua Tagovailoa were to wear his college number 13 in Miami, Dan Marino's retired number, would it be considered disrespectful, or could it be a connection point for generations of Finns fans who've been longing for the next Marino? Let's re-employ all retired numbers and let the arguments flow. I'll have my towel ready.
Like so many of us, of a certain age anyway, The Last Dance has me thinking back to the 1990s. As a New Yorker, I can't say that back then I fully embraced the greatness of the Chicago Bulls. But I must concede, of course, that they were enthralling. There's one moment that sticks with me from those years in particular. It was back in the spring of 1993 when the Bulls and Knicks squared off in the Eastern Conference Finals. At the time, I was working in local TV in New York, mostly as a cameraman. For Game 6, I would get to shoot the game from the floor of Chicago Stadium. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's me, right there, pointing the camera up at the basket. I'll never forget that feeling in the moments just before tip-off when the lights went dark, the crowd went quiet, Sirius by the Alan Parsons Project started pumping through the old building, and Ray Clay, the announcer, introduced the Bulls starting lineup. It was electric. The game itself, I barely remember. Naturally, the Knicks lost, but that atmosphere, even a New Yorker had to admit, that tingled the spine. I've experienced nothing else quite like it ever. That's what live sports with a wrapped crowd is all about. And right now, that sensation has never felt more distant.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.